Hi and Assalamualaikum to everyone. Today we're going to present to you about the analysis of corporate financial performance between 7-Eleven and Family Mart. And my name is Haifa Batrisyia Binti Mohd Zahari, and I'm going to start with the introduction. As you can see, the main factor in this report are we chose to make a comparison between these two convenience company, which are 7-Eleven and Family Mart. In this report, we will show about the purpose of the comparison and followed by the performance that define the company financial position of these two companies in Malaysia. The ratio analysis that will be introduced is to identify which one of those companies are the best company in the last 3 years. The type of ratio that going to be introduced in the report are liquidity analysis, leverage analysis, profitability analysis, operating analysis, and valuation analysis. When we prepare the report, we can see that it helped us a lot to understand the financial performance from both companies. In the report, we will show about how we analyze their data from the last 3 years, also the strength and weakness from the both companies. Okay, the first company are 7-Eleven. The company was founded in 1927 by J.C. Thompson as the Southland Ice Company in Dallas, Texas. The business idea was introduced or produced with satisfying customer and increase their sales by coming up with convenience retail concept. They opened their store worldwide and is the largest convenience store in Malaysia in 2009. And they are pioneer. There are 24 hours convenience store and they achieve 4,000 marks in stores network. It all just started as an ice vendor that provide milk, bread and eggs on Sundays, but now are getting bigger worldwide. They also expanded their product by selling their own proprietary brands, which are Slurpee, a frozen beverage, and Ice Cream, the exclusive brand that introduced soft serve. They also included for bill payment service such as Touch and Go, Razorpay, and Alipay. And some stores are also provided with automated teller machine, which is ATM, and community service. They are also certified halal and prioritize the food and product with excellent quality to ensure your tastefulness and fresh foods. They also open at petrol station and many more, and their tagline is 7-Eleven is always there for you. Okay, for Family Mart is a Japanese convenience store that founded and well known as Japan's second largest convenience store chain. Now they have in total of 24,000 stores worldwide, such as Japan, Taiwan, China, Philippines, Thailand, and also Malaysia. They also operate some stores in Japan under the name Circle K Sunkus. And our Family Mart in Malaysia was opened its first store at Wisma Lim Fu Yong in Bukit Bintang, KL. And every franchise of a Family Mart is owned by the company in their own country. So for Malaysia, they are owned by the company called Medsicam Resources Sdn Bhd and the QL Resources Berhad subsidiary. The food in Malaysia is all using halal ingredients because in 2019, they are confirmed to get halal certificate from Zakim after all the speculation that being made by people because the suspicions happen because most of the product are imported from Japan and Korea.
Trend analysis liquidity ratio for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from 2015 to 2019. Liquidity ratio. Liquidity ratio are used to measure the firm's capability to pay off its short terms and expenses. Besides that, it also used to measure the firm's ability to meet or satisfy the short-term obligation as they come due. The higher ratios are better as they present the higher ability to pay, but excessive liquidity may indicate too much investment in current assets, and if the less liquid the firm, the greater the chance that the firm will be unable to pay creditors when payments are due. Current ratios. The function of current ratios in liquidity ratios is to measure the ability of firm to pay off its current obligation with current assets. It also evaluates the ability of company to pay short-term obligation using current assets such as cash, marketable securities, current receivables, inventories, and prepayments. This is the formula for current ratios, which is CR equal to current asset divided by current liabilities. As we can see, there are two trend analysis current ratio graph for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. We can see the trend analysis current ratio for Family Mart are better than 7-Eleven. First, let's take a look year by year. Trend analysis current ratio for 7-Eleven in 2015 shows 0.75 times, while trend analysis current ratio for Family Mart in 2015 show 1.42 times. In 2019, 7-Eleven shows 0.61 times, while in 2016, Family Mart shows 1.45 times. In 2017, 7-Eleven shows 0.63 times, while for Family Mart shows 1.39 times. In 2018, 7-Eleven shows 0.67 times, while for Family Mart shows 1.59. Last but not least, 2019, 7E shows 0.55 times, while Family Mart shows 1.31 times. Next is net working capital, NWC. Net working capital are used to measure the ability of a firm to pay off its current obligation with the most liquid assets. In the other words, it can determine if a company can meet its current obligations with its current assets and how much excess or deficiency there is. This is the formula for net working capital. NWC equals current assets minus current liabilities. Based on the two graphs given, trend analysis net working capital for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from 2015 to 2019, we can see trend analysis net working ratio for Family Mart are much more better than 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven shows the negative amount from 2015 to 2019. So let's take a look the amount year by year. In year 2015, 7-Eleven shows the amount negative 140,197 ringgit, while Family Mart shows 287,382 ringgit. In 2016, 7-Eleven shows the amount negative 271,665 ringgit, while in 2016, for Family Mart shows 337,149 ringgit. In 2017, shows the negative 243,013 ringgit. For Family Mart, shows 347,898 ringgit. In 2018, the amount shows by 7-Eleven are negative 293,471 ringgit, while for Family Mart shows 463,000 871 ringgit. Last but not least is in 2019, 7-Eleven shows the amount negative 336,526 ringgit, while in 2019 for Family Mart shows 506,455 ringgit. Importance of liquidity ratios. First, determine the ability to cover short-term obligations. Liquidity ratios are a ratio of 1 is better than a ratio of less than 1, but it isn't ideal. Creditors and investors like to see higher liquidity ratios, such as 2 or 3. The higher the ratio is, the more likely a company is able to pay its short-term bills. A ratio of less than 1 means the company faces a negative working capital and can be experiencing a liquidity crisis. Second one is determine creditworthiness. Creditors analyze liquidity ratios when deciding whether or not they should extend credit to a company. They want to be sure that the company they lend to has the ability to pay them back. Any hint of financial instability may disqualify a company from obtaining loans. Next, we proceed to ways to improve in liquidity ratios. First is early invoice submission. Submit invoices as quickly as possible to customers. The more accounts receivable increase and the faster receive money for sale, the better current ratio will look and will have enough cash. Give importance to aging account and work hard to make the customers pay. Pay off some of own liabilities as quickly as possible, especially the minor ones that do not have high monetary values. Having efficient account receivables processes in place will help in this direction. Second is switch from short-term debt to long-term debt. Use long-term debt to finance business instead of short-term debt. Long-term debt gives the benefit of smaller monthly installments and lowest interest rate. The principal is also not due for repayment immediately. Removal of short-term debt from balance sheet allows to have better quick and current ratios and allows to save some of liquidity in the near term and put it to better use.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Hanif Hakimi. So I will explain about the trend analysis leverage ratio for 7-Eleven and Family Mart. So leverage ratio is one of several financial measurement that look how much capital comes in form of debt or assesses the ability of company to meet its financial obligation. So, debt ratio measure the percentage of total assets that are financed by debt. So, the short form was DR. So, debt ratio indicate the amount of debt in the company financial structure. So, the formula for debt ratio is total liabilities divided by total asset multiplied by 100. So this is the two graph for debt ratio analysis for 7-Eleven company and for Family Mart company. So as we can see here, we have calculate from 2015 until 2019, which is 5 years. And what I can conclude is Family Mart is the better debt ratio because it is lower than the 7-Eleven debt ratio. It is because the higher the DR, the higher is the company risk. The lower is the better. Debt to equity ratio is quite similar to the debt ratio, but it measures the amount of debt being utilized relative to the capital provided by the company owner. So the formula for debt to equity ratio is total liability divided by total equity multiplied by 100. Okay, as we can see here, this is two graphs of debt to equity ratio for 7-Eleven from year 2015 until 2019. Same also for Family Mart from 2015 until 2019. So what we can conclude here, from 2015 until 2018, the best debt to equity ratio is 7-Eleven company. It is because it's lower than the Family Mart company. But for 2019, the best debt equity ratio is Family Mart because it's lower than the 7-Eleven debt to equity ratio. So the higher the debt equity ratio, the higher is the company risk. So the lower is the better. So important of leverage ratio. Leverage is an essential tool a company's management can use to make the best financing and investment decision. It provides a variety of financing sources by which the firm can achieve its target earning. Leverage is also an important technique in investing as it helps companies set a threshold for the expansion of business operation. For example, it can be used to recommend restriction on business expansion on projected return on additional investment is lower than cost of debt. There are 4 ways to improve leverage ratio. Number 1 is pay down any loan. When pay off loan, the ratio start to balance out. Make sure don't take on additional debt either, since that can raise debt to equity ratio. Number 2 is increase profitability. To increase company profitability, work to improve sales revenue and lower cost. Number 3 is improve inventory management. Effectively managing the company's inventory ensure no money goes to waste. Make sure don't have high inventory level that go beyond what's required to fill order. And the last one is restructure debt. Consider refinancing your existing debt if have loan with high interest rate. Restructuring when current market rates are low helps to decrease debt to equity ratio.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Afieza. I will explain about trend analysis profitability ratio for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. Okay, what is profitability ratio? Profitability ratios are a class of financial metrics that are used to assess a business profitability to generate earnings relative to its revenue, operating stock, balance sheet, assets, or shareholders' equity over time using data from a specific point in a time. Gross profit margin measure the gross profit or income generated from sales before take into account the administration expenses. Okay, the calculation is gross profit margin divide by sales and multiply by hundreds. Okay, as we can see, this is the graph chart trend analysis gross profit margin for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. As we can see, 7-Eleven got the highest in 2018 with the negative 58.32, while the lowest is in 2016 with the negative 44.38. Okay, and we can see the Family Mart. Family Mart got the highest ratio is in 2019 with the negative 23.42. Meanwhile, the lowest is in 2015 with total negative 20.86. Gross profit can turn negative when the cost of production exceed the total sales. A negative margin can be indication of a company inability of control costs. So here we can conclude that Family Mart is okay. So here we go to net profit. Measure the net profit generated from sales after deducting the administration expenses, interest expenses, and tax expenses. The calculation for net profit is net profit divided by sales and multiply by 100. Okay, so here we can see graph chart trend analysis net profit margin for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to year 2019. As we can see, 7-Eleven got the highest ratio in 2015 with negative 44.54. Meanwhile, the lowest is in 2017 with the total negative 3.35. Okay, so Family Mart got the highest is in year 2015 with the negative 8.75 and got the lowest in 2019 with the negative 7.69. So here we can conclude that Family Mart is better than 7-Eleven because Family Mart got the lowest negative net profit margin from the 7-Eleven. Okay, now we go to the importance of profitability ratio. Gross profit margin is a measure of the profit earned on sales. It is significantly important since the gross profit is what covers the admin and office costs and the dividends distributed to the shareholder. It means the higher the gross profit is, the more profitable company. So it is a good cash to invest in. As mentioned as above, it is also used to assess the efficiency of cost management. The net profit margin is the final ratio that demonstrates the overall performance of a company. Since any disturbance in other ratio indirectly hit the net profit margin as well. For example, a low quick ratio may be because of low sales, which will obviously lower the net profit margin as well. This ratio is important since it could help the company or investor to see where it could go wrong in the company's current operating expenses. Okay, so there are some ways to improve profitability ratio, which is seek repeat sales, increase sale and profitability without any major increase in marketing budget by using email or text messaging to stay in touch with existing customers. Even though they are satisfied with their purchases, if we don't stay in touch with them, they may forget about the item and seek other sources when they want more of what we sell. Get the customer to stick with your business by sending them reminders to reorder and new about new product. Okay, the second is review offer pricing consideration. It means it's a good idea to review your pricing regularly. Change in your marketplace may mean that you can raise your price without risking sales. However, it's wise to test any price rises before you make them permanent. The last one is find your best customer. It's not just the price list that affect the profitability. The type of customer you are selling to also make a big difference. Focusing on your most profitable customer, even if it means letting the less profitable ones go, could boost your profitability so as long as it handled carefully.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Aqila Binti Nasir. Now I will present about trend analysis operating ratio for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. Operating analysis ratio. The operating ratio shows the efficiency of a company's management by comparing the total operating expenses OPEX of a company to net sales. The operating ratio shows how efficient a company's management is at keeping costs low while generating revenue or sale. Total asset turnover, used as a measure of the firm's ability to manage all its resources invested to generate sales. The formula of total asset turnover is TATO equal to sales divided by total asset. Okay, as we can see, there are two trend analysis total asset turnover graph for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. We can see that the trend analysis total asset turnover graph for 7-Eleven are better than Family Mart. First, let's take a look year by year. Trend analysis total asset turnover for 7-Eleven in 2015 shows 2.7 times, while for Family Mart shows 1.05 times. In 2019, the graph shows for 7-Eleven is 2.72 times, while for Family Mart is 1.02 times. Next, in 2017, the graph shows for 7-Eleven is 2.75 times, while for the Family Mart it shows 0.95 times. In 2018, total asset turnover for 7-Eleven is 2.96 times, while for Family Mart is 0.98 times. In 2019, for 7-Eleven is 1.66 times, while for Family Mart it shows 0.98 times. Okay, now we move to inventory turnover. What is inventory turnover? Inventory turnover is measure how effective the firm uses inventory to generate sale. The formula of inventory turnover is ITO equal to cost of gross sale divided by inventories. Okay, now we can see there are two trend analysis inventory turnover graph for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. We can see the trend analysis inventory turnover graph for 7-Eleven are better than Family Mart. First, let's take a look year by year. Trend analysis inventory turnover for 7-Eleven in 2015 shows 7.68 times, while trend analysis inventory turnover for Family Mart shows 6.7 times. In 2016, the graph show for 7-Eleven is 5.52 times, while for Family Mart it shows 6.22 times. Next, in 2017, the graph shows for 7-Eleven is 6.08 times, while for Family Mart it shows 0.95 times. In 2018, inventory turnover for 7-Eleven is 6.76 times, while for Family Mart it 7.08 times. In 2019, for 7-Eleven is 7.01 times, while for Family Mart is 5.12 times. Importance of operating ratio. There are three of importance operating ratios. The first one is operating margin ratio is financially sound. It can easily pay its fixed costs and interest on the debit. The second one is good operating ratio can successfully survive during the economic crisis. The last one is higher operating margin ratio can successfully compete with the competitors by lowering the price of product to such level that competitors will not be able to survive. The ways to improve operating ratio. First one is analyze business expense ledger for information about operating profit margin. Compare these figures with company's gross revenue to determine the percentage of spending in each category. Also, compare your company's figure to the standard for your industry. For example, a healthy restaurant business should spend 30 to 35% of the amount it collects in revenue on ingredients. If company is spending a larger percentage, then should look for ways to reduce this amount to improve operating margins. The second one is create economies of scale in your business operation. It also involves determining the ideal batch size for your particular types of production. For example, if your manufacturing process involves mixing batches of an adhesive that becomes increasingly difficult to work with over time, efficiency will depend on assessing the ideal size batch to mix.
Okay, for trend analysis market ratio of 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019, market ratio measures a company ability to generate market value from investment. The formula that we are using are EPS, earning per share. It measures the amount of earning available for each of the common shareholders' shares. EPS also measure the profit generated from each share. So the formula are net profit minus dividend divided by total number of share outstanding. Okay, for trend analysis earning per share for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. I'm going to focus on 7-Eleven first because they are on the negative side. So for 2015, they are in negative 5.80%. 2016, they are negative 2.84%, and 2017, it's negative 1.87%. And in 2018, it's negative 6.25%, and in 2019, it's negative 8.77%. And for Family Mart, they are not in much different because in 2019 they are much lower than in 2018. So in 2015 they are in 0.16%, same with 2016 0.16%, and in 2017 it rise up to 0.17%, same with 2018 0.17%, and in 2019 it become much lower as in 0.16%. Okay, and now I'm going to introduce the dividend per share, DPS. It measures how much dividend is paid, which is dividend income, to each of the share. And the formula are dividend divided by total number of share outstanding. Okay, for trend analysis DPS for 7-Eleven and Family Mart from year 2015 to 2019. For 7-Eleven, the ratio are in 2015 is 0.05%. In 2016 also it's 0.05%, and it's the same in 2017, which are 0.05% also, but it's rise up in 2018, which are 0.48%, and in 2019 it become much lower, which are 0.05%. And for Family Mart, in 2015 they are 0.16%, and in 2016 it rise up to 5.53%, and in 2017 it become much lower, which are 2.08%, and in 2018 which are 1.00%, and for 2019 it become much better, which are 9.30%. Okay, importance of valuating ratios. Valuating ratios are so important in determining a company's worth. Valuating ratios shows the relationship between the market value of a company or its equity and some fundamental financial metric, example earnings. And the second one is the point of valuating ratio is to show the price you are paying for some stream of earnings, revenue, or cash flows. And the ways to improve valuating ratio: develop your brand. A buyer will see significant value in buying an already established business with a respected brand. No matter how small, any business has the potential to differentiate itself from its competitors and become the market leader in a defined niche. To achieve this, you need a brand that captures the essence of your business. And the second one are a brand builds your market credibility over time, and its reputation helps to sustain revenues as you grow. And the last one are the show growth potential. A potential buyer will be most interested in growing new business, so aim to create a business that can be scaled up. For example, if you develop a good business systems and operating manuals, you can show buyers that the business has the potential to become a franchise, expand into geographical areas, and acquire smaller competitors.
For recommendation, 7-Eleven has a few problems with their financial statement, which are the liabilities are too high than their current asset. Undeniably, Family Mart also recorded a negative value asset ratio. So overall, we will conclude that Family Mart is the best choice because the current ratio for Family Mart is better than the 7-Eleven company, and the net working capital also better from the 7-Eleven. Then the debt ratio, gross profit margin, earning per share and dividend per share are better than the 7-Eleven company.
As conclusion, financial ratio analysis is the technique of comparing the relationship or ratio between two or more items of financial data from a company's financial statements. It is mainly used as a way of making fair comparisons across time and between different companies or industries. Second, it is important to keep in mind that financial ratios can only be interpreted fairly if the financial statements on which they are based are prepared according to the same set of accounting standards. This ensures that the underlying general ledger account always relate to the same line item in the financial statement. Last but not least, financial ratio analysis is quantitative rather than qualitative. It, therefore, does not address certain factors which can play a huge role in determining a company's prospect. For example, it cannot analyze the quality of the management. This means that although financial ratio analysis can be hugely useful, it only tells part of the story. That's all, thank you.
Okay, for drawback for ratio, there's some disadvantages of ratio analysis, which is number one is financial statement seems to be complicated. Number two is several organizations work in various enterprise, each processing a different environmental position such as market structure, regulation, such a factor, and important that a comparison of two organizations from varied industry might be ambiguous. Then number three is uh, financial accounting data is influenced by view and hypothesis. Accounting criteria provide different accounting methods, which reduce comparability, and thus ratio analysis is less helpful in such a circumstance. Then number five is ratio analysis illustrate the associate between prior data, while users are more concerned about current and future data. So there's a few drawbacks here. debt ratio and debt equity ratio are both ways of looking at how indebted the company is. The key difference between debt ratio and debt to equity ratio is that while debt ratio measures the amount of debt as a proportion of asset, debt to equity ratio calculates how much a debt a company has compared to the capital provided by shareholder. Okay. Debt ratio is measure of the company leverage. Leverage is the amount of debt borrowed as a result of financing and investing decision. This provides an interpretation of what proportion of assets are financed using debt. Higher the debt component, higher the financing risk faced by the company. This ratio is also referred as debt to asset ratio. For the debt to equity ratio, it is a ratio used to measure a company financial leverage. Calculate by dividing a company total liability by its shareholder equity. This is common referring uh, to a gearing ratio. Uh, the debt to equity ratio indicate how much a debt a company is using to finance its asset relative to the amount of value represented in shareholder equity. Thank you.